Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we cut through the noise and get straight to the most important insights from that fascinating stack of sources you shared with us. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something incredibly important and maybe often misunderstood neuroinclusive design. Our mission today is, well, to equip you with a thorough understanding of this approach. It's really not just about making things accessible for a few, it's about designing systems that truly work for all brains. That includes neurotypical folks and those who are neurodivergent, people whose brains process information differently, like with ADHD, autism, or dyslexia. Our goal is to unpack some frankly surprising insights from our source material on what it truly means to design for everyone, and how to build systems that sustain these practices over time. Transforming digital spaces, and maybe even your own workflows. Okay, let's unpack this. What exactly is neuroinclusive design at its core, and why is it such a powerful concept right now?
Yeah, the real game changer here is a fundamental shift in perspective. Our sources highlight this move from what's often called an accommodation model.
Right, the sort of add-on approach.
Exactly. To what they call a social contextual model. So the old way often meant making special exceptions or adjustments after a system was built, almost like certain brains needed fixing.
Yeah.
But the social contextual model, it flips that entirely. It means designing systems to work for everyone right from the ground up, recognizing that, well, environments aren't always built with all wiring types in mind initially. It's much more proactive. It transforms the environment itself rather than just patching things up later.
Okay, so it's not just about compliance checkboxes or fairness then. It's a foundational redesign. What's the practical impact of that shift? Why does this matter to everyone, not just a specific group?
This is where it gets really interesting, actually. Our sources point out that about, 15% of people are neurodivergent? That's roughly 1 in 7 people.
Wow, that's significant.
It really is. And what's fascinating is that these individuals often act like coal miners' canaries in our digital spaces. They consciously notice issues, friction points, confusing design that might just subconsciously annoy or slow down others.
So they feel the effects more acutely.
Precisely. For instance, one source shared a great example. A blog had way too many tags, making it cluttered, especially on mobile screens. When they streamlined those tags for accessibility, thinking about cognitive load and clarity.
Let me guess. Everyone liked it better.
Exactly. It ended up improving the experience for everyone, not just those on small screens or with specific cognitive needs. So when you design for those who might be most sensitive to design flaws, you actually create better, more robust experience universally. It's simply better design.
That universal benefit argument is incredibly compelling. Okay, let's take this from theory to practice. What concrete principles should guide our design if we're really embracing this social contextual model?
Right. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it means embedding key principles right into your design thinking. First up, multiple access points. Think of it like unlocking your content for every brain. Offer information visually, in writing, and maybe through audio. That way, you ensure your message resonates with diverse learning styles, and you dramatically expand your reach and impact. Makes sense?
Absolutely. More ways in, more people reached. What else?
Then there's clear structure. This means consistent navigation, predictable patterns. Users should be able to anticipate how an interface will behave. It reduces cognitive load, that mental effort needed to process information.
Less guesswork, more flow. Got it.
We also talk about flexible interaction, offering different ways to engage, maybe varied input methods or alternative ways to complete a task.
Options are key.
And finally, explicit communication, using clear, concrete language, reducing ambiguity, avoid jargon, complex sentences.
Keep it simple and direct.
Exactly. And while our deep dive today focuses mostly on tech, it's important to remember these principles aren't just for websites or apps. They extend into broader areas: emotional safety in teams, personalized support, systemic design, continuous improvement, really, in any environment.
I see the power in that. It really clarifies that proactive shift we talked about. But how do these principles look in practice? Say, when you're building something like a digital community or a workspace. Our sources give a fantastic example with designing a Slack workspace.
Yes, that was a great example. And a key revelation from the sources there is that the starting point for creating these neurocomplex conscious spaces is often self-awareness. Meaning designing for your own brain first, understanding your own needs and triggers. One powerful personal example given was around notification design. The little red dots on app icons?
Oh yeah, the anxiety-inducing one.
Precisely. The creator realized those triggered anxiety. The solution wasn't just fiddling with Slack's internal preferences. No, it was going into the computer system settings and turning off the badge application icon for Slack entirely, at the OS level.
Tackling it at the source.
Right. And then within Slack itself, they customized channel-specific notifications. So, like hashtag announcements might always notify, but hashtag welcome maybe only notify on a direct mention. This two-layer approach controlling notifications at both the OS and the app level gives you real command over interruptions. It significantly reduces cognitive load and that background hum of anxiety. It's about empowering personal control.
That makes perfect sense. It's layered control. And it extends beyond just notifications too, right? Integrating tools.
Absolutely. Another game changer mentioned was integrating a task management tool like Sunsama with Slack. This setup lets a user automatically enter focus mode in Slack, maybe with a visual cue, like an A emoji next to their name whenever a timer is running in their task manager.
Oh, clever. So it signals focus without manual effort.
Exactly. It's seamless. Reduces the cognitive load of constantly switching tools or updating your status, and it gently signals to others, hey, I'm deep in work right now.
Nice. And what about the visual side? You mentioned color.
Yes, the power of color is huge for creating a comfortable environment. While Slack doesn't let you color code individual channels, which would be amazing,
Right.
it does let every user personalize their own workspace theme. The example given was a custom theme called the Pythoness Programmer theme, with specific hex codes, those unique color identifiers.
So everyone can choose colors that work for them?
Exactly. Users can apply these codes easily to make their visual environment feel calming, focused, cohesive, authentically theirs. It might seem subtle, but it's a powerful way to boost personal well-being within that shared digital space.
That's brilliant. So individual customization is key, but also how the channels themselves are structured, right? Walk us through how channels can be designed for different thinking styles.
Yeah, definitely. Connecting this back to practical application, channels can be intentionally designed for varied engagement styles. For example, hashtag welcome channel. It could have a really clear introduction template, a pinned FAQ maybe,
Good idea.
and offer multiple ways for people to introduce themselves. Maybe text, maybe a voice note, or even just acknowledging that it's okay to lurk for a bit.
It's accommodating different comfort levels.
Exactly. Or think about an hashtag accessibility tips channel. You'd want a structured format for sharing tips, maybe use tags so things are searchable, and definitely offer information in both visual and text-based formats. For hashtag tech questions, maybe a clear template for asking questions. And encouraging thread-based responses helps keep discussions organized, making it easier to follow different solutions.
Keeps things tidy.
And hashtag resource sharing channel. You could categorize resources clearly, include descriptions, maybe even add notes about accessibility or indicators for cost and complexity. It's all about providing clear pathways and flexibility.
This insight sparks a crucial follow-up for me. How do these seemingly small design choices connect to a much bigger picture? It feels like this goes beyond just making Slack nicer, doesn't it?
Precisely. You hit the nail on the head. This really highlights that context is everything. Our sources draw this fascinating analogy to AI code quality. Even technically perfect AI-generated code can totally fail if it doesn't fit the team's existing style, their standards, the project context, leads to low trust, poor adoption. Apparently, only a tiny percentage of teams really achieve that high trust, low error sweet spot with AI, often because they haven't designed the process for the human context.
Interesting parallel. How does that connect back to people?
Well, similarly, on the human side, there's research mentioned by Lindsay McGrath. It shows how this environmental mismatch for neurodivergent individuals can lead directly to burnout, chronic illness, even struggles with identity. When neurodivergent wiring meets systems designed, often unconsciously, for neurotypical brains without that forethought, the result is persistent stress, cognitive drain, and ultimately diminished performance. So the universal truth here seems to be that mismatch drains energy. Whether it's AI adoption failing to deliver ROI, or human capacity being exhausted. Designing for fit, not forcing things, seems to be the linchpin. It builds trust and function for both systems and people. It's about creating structures that let systems and people thrive in their natural context.
That truly underscores the benefit of this proactive approach. So, okay, we've designed for all brains, we're considering context, individual needs. But accessibility isn't a one-time fix, is it? How do we make sure these practices actually last? How do we make them sustainable in the long run?
That's a critical point, and a key revelation here is that accessibility has to be a continuous practice. One anecdote shared described an air conditioning breakdown during a heat wave that forced a complete work stoppage.
Oh, wow, not ideal.
Not at all. But it led to this powerful moment of clarity. Your systems need to work not just when you're feeling great and full of energy, but especially when you're tired, overwhelmed, or just not at your best. Accessibility can't be just one more thing on the to-do list. It needs to be baked into your default state.
But why is it so hard to maintain for many people? What's the barrier?
Well, the sources explain this really dangerous cycle involving masking and burnout.
Masking?
Yeah, masking is essentially trying to appear normal or neurotypical in professional settings,
Yeah.
expending huge amounts of energy to fit in. This often leads individuals to neglect or even forget their own accessibility needs because they're so focused on performing. Then, when burnout inevitably hits because masking is exhausting, there's simply no energy left to maintain the very accessibility systems they might have already built.
Oh, I see the cycle.
Right. It becomes self-reinforcing. Masking leads to burnout. Burnout makes maintaining accessibility harder. And poor accessibility then increases the need to mask to cope. It's a really common and difficult pattern, especially for neurodivergent professionals.
That's a powerful and, unfortunately, probably relatable cycle for some listeners. So how do we break it? How do we build accessibility into our default state so it's not just reacting after problems pop up?
The solution really lies in building accessibility into your foundational systems, making it the path of least resistance. This means leveraging things like automated checks, setting up tools that flag potential issues proactively before they even become problems.
Like linters for accessibility.
Kind of, yeah. Then there's template-based design, creating reusable components, documents, whatever, that are accessible by default, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. Also, community accountability, building systems or norms where members can gently remind each other about accessibility needs, not policing, but supporting.
A culture of accessibility.
Exactly. And finally, this idea of a graceful degradation, designing systems that still function maybe at a basic level even when users or the creators themselves aren't at their best, ensuring a minimum level of usability even under suboptimal conditions.
Okay, that makes sense conceptually. Can you give us some concrete examples? What does a sustainable accessibility maintenance system actually look like across different time frames? I imagine this isn't just a once-a-year audit.
No, definitely not. Consistency is key.
Mm.
Here's a kind of recommended maintenance schedule, broken down from the sources. You can adapt it, of course. Think daily, maybe just 2 minutes, a quick scan of any new content you've added for obvious issues, missing alt text, weird formatting, check notification settings if you've tweaked them, super quick.
Okay, manageable.
Then weekly, maybe set aside 15 minutes, review alt text on new images more carefully, test keyboard navigation quickly on any new features or pages, update any accessibility documentation with new learnings, maybe actively gather just one piece of feedback from your users or community.
Still pretty doable. Builds up slowly.
Right. Monthly, perhaps 30 minutes, do a slightly more comprehensive audit of your main digital spaces. Review your accessibility guidelines. Are they still relevant? Check if your tools are compatible with assistive tech. Plan one specific improvement for the next month.
Getting more strategic now.
And then quarterly, block out maybe an hour. This is for a deeper review of all systems. Analyze the feedback you've collected over the quarter. Evaluate your tools, any upgrades needed. Update any training materials or resources you provide.
Okay, I see how that builds a robust habit.
Exactly. And the key insight here, the really important part, is these reviews aren't just about fixing problems after they happen. They're about preventing them. By building accessibility checks into your regular workflow, you create systems that support you when you need them most, especially on those inevitable low-energy days.
That makes so much sense. And it feels like this systematic approach also helps with something else. You discovered this idea of finding forever topics. Can you elaborate on that? That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, that came out of one of those forced pauses, actually, the idea of forever topics. These are like fundamental human needs that technology serves, topics that stay relevant even when tech trends shift wildly, like with AI now, or even during periods of personal burnout.
Okay, like what kind of topics?
Examples given were things like accessible design itself, obviously, software settings and optimization, helping people configure their tools, digital security basics, always important, personal shortcuts and workflows, efficiency hacks, digital file organization, taming the chaos.
Ah, the evergreen stuff.
Exactly. They aren't trendy subjects tied to the latest hype cycle. They're evergreen skills. Focusing on these allows you to keep learning, to serve a community authentically, and crucially, it gives you concrete, valuable content you can create and share even on those low-energy days. It lets you hit your bare minimums without sacrificing value.
That's a really smart strategy for sustainability.
And what's also vital, connected to this, is how we handle feedback. Early on, it's so natural to feel defensive when someone points out an accessibility issue in your work, right?
Yeah, definitely. It can feel like criticism.
But the shift the sources advocate for is to see that feedback as a gift. It actually means someone trusts you enough and cares enough to help you improve. There's a recommended framework for responding. 1. Acknowledge and thank. Always express gratitude first. Seriously. 2. Assess and plan. Look into the issue objectively and figure out how you'll address it. 3. Implement and communicate. Fix the thing and then let the person or community know it's been fixed. Close the loop. And 4. Learn and prevent. Use that feedback to improve your system so similar issues don't happen again. This turns potentially awkward moments into real opportunities for system improvement.
That's a really powerful, empathetic framework. Okay, so for you, our curious listener who wants to put some of this into action right away, what's a concrete first step? Something they can maybe do right now on their own project or website?
A fantastic place to start is what the sources call the 5-minute accessibility check. Super practical. First, check color contrast. Use a free online tool like the WebAM Contrast Checker. You're aiming for WCAG 2.1 level AA compliance. That means a contrast ratio of at least 4.5 to 1 for normal text. Makes things way easier to read. And don't rely only on color to convey info.
Okay, contrast check. Got it.
Next, look at text size and spacing. Is the base text size reasonable, like around 16 pixels? Is there enough space between lines, maybe 1.5 times the text size? Crucially, can users zoom in 200% without text spilling off the screen or getting jumbled? Use relative units like rem or em for sizing, not fixed pixels.
Right, flexibility for users makes sense.
Then test keyboard navigation. Put your mouse aside. Can you navigate through everything interactive using only the tab key? Is the order logical? Can you always see where the focus is? There's that classic story about Zappos.com finding their bestseller badges were read in the wrong order by screen readers just by testing with the tab key.
Simple but revealing.
No.
Okay, tab key test.
Don't forget alt text. Are all meaningful images described with alternative text for screen readers? Be specific but concise. Use an empty alt attribute for purely decorative images so screen readers skip them.
Alt text. Check.
And finally, check content structure, using headings correctly. Just one main H1 heading per page. Are subheadings nested logically? H2 under H1, H3 under H2. This structure is vital for screen reader users to navigate.
Structure matters. Okay, that's 5 concrete things.
Exactly. And to help with this, there are loads of free tools. We mentioned WebAM for contrast. Wavy is another great browser extension for overall checks. Screen readers like NVDA for Windows or VoiceOver built into Macs are essential to test with eventually. And honestly, just using your keyboard's tab key is a powerful tool. Plus, your browser's built-in developer tools, Chrome Dev Tools, Firefox Accessibility Inspector have fantastic accessibility features. The goal isn't to master every single tool overnight. It's to build a small, sustainable system of checks that works for you and your resources.
Okay, fantastic practical advice. So we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We went from that fundamental shift to the social contextual model of neuroinclusive design.
Right, moving beyond accommodation.
To building neurocomplex conscious digital spaces, using that Slack example.
Thinking about notifications, integrations, colors.
And finally, digging into the long game, how to make these practices truly sustainable.
Yeah, the maintenance schedules, those forever topics, handling feedback. And if we connect all this back to the really big picture, I think the most important lesson from all these sources is that accessible design isn't just about technical compliance. It's not just ticking boxes. It's fundamentally about creating digital spaces where all brains can thrive, where everyone feels like they belong, like they can participate fully and contribute their best work, their best selves.
And that beautiful ripple effect you mentioned, when we design intentionally for neurocomplex needs, whether that's starting with our own needs or thinking broadly about others, we genuinely create better, richer, more usable experiences for everyone. It's a really powerful shift, isn't it? Moving from maybe minimum viable accessibility towards, I don't know, maximum human thriving.
I like that, maximum human thriving. And maybe that leads us to the final thought for you, the listener. This raises an important question, perhaps. How might building accessibility into your own default thinking, into your daily workflows, transform not just your digital interactions, but maybe your overall capacity, your well-being? What new insights might you uncover by applying these principles, even just the 5-minute check, to your own systems? Especially perhaps when you think about how they function when you're not at your absolute best.
Something definitely worth reflecting on. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Until next time.